Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 216. Frank Danna joins us to chat about Snapchat, Instagram, and how social media marketers are ruining social media. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you grow your tribe and your bottom line through insanely good content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is March 2nd, 2017. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. And happy March. We're starting a new month this week. You want to hear something scary? We only have a few weeks left to the first quarter of 2015. I know, 2015. Listen to me, 2017. Hello. We've got a few more weeks. If you have been maybe not as diligent as you hoped in implementing that wonderful content marketing strategy, then there's always time to make up for it and to get back on track. So just keep that in mind. We're looking at the end of the first quarter, but we still have time to repair and get on track. Okay, this podcast is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe. I also invite you to download our complimentary ebook, Ninja Secrets of B2B Blogging. Grab your free copy to learn the secrets that every B2B blogging ninja knows. Just go to resonancecontent.com/resources and you'll see the link right there at the top of the page. Also, a note to my brethren and sestrin. Sure, why not? In the healthcare industry here in the U.S., I will be speaking at the Social Media for Healthcare Marketing Conference in Washington, D.C. on March 20th. Specifically, I'll be leading a 2-hour workshop on creating audience personas. So if you are planning to attend, let me know. Maybe we can sync up for coffee during one of the breaks. And of course, if you want to know more about the event, just tweet me at Rach Parker, and I will be happy to share the conference link with you. Okay, in last week's episode, we wrapped up February, the month of love, by looking at the top 10 reasons why people break up with content marketing, very sad, and how we can avoid those missteps in keeping the romance alive. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or via the RSS feed. Today, we are bringing back one of our most popular guests, Frank Danna, will be joining us again, and he's going to be talking about Snapchat, Instagram, and how social media marketers are ruining social media. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. News out of Instagram kicking off our news feed. Instagram has announced that users can now combine up to 10 photos and videos in one post. And users will be able to swipe through and see them all. So if you go to your Instagram app, you will see a new icon that allows you to select multiple photos and videos, which can then be reorganized, edited, and or layered with a filter one by one or all at once. So you can choose up to 10 photos and videos and do your editing and do your filters. If you want to get them all the same filter, you can do that. Pretty cool feature. You will see the people who see your post will see a row of blue dots at the bottom of your post indicating that there is more to see. So they will see I see 1 or 2 photos, but they will see a little blip at the bottom that says, hey, there's more. So check out more photos and videos. This update is now available as part of Instagram version 10.9 for both iOS and Android. So check it out. And that's great for things like events, conferences, product launches. If you want to share a whole bunch of photos and videos and don't want to just post one after the other and clog up people's newsfeed. Great way to package that content and share it with your audience. Okay, if you have been coveting those snappy Snapchat spectacles and you live in the United States, then your wait is over. Snap Inc., which is the new Snapchat, Snap Inc. They're making those spectacles now available. These are Snapchat-enabled sunglasses with a built-in camera, and they were announced last fall and previously only available from pop-up stores and traveling vending machines found in limited locations. But they are now available online. You can get your very own pair at the price of $129 at spectacles.com. Interesting they got that URL. I wonder who they bought it from. So if you would like to have your very own pair of spectacles, you can grab them again at spectacles.com. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post titled 3 Crucial Truths for Engaging Your Audience on Mobile. This is a post by Joshua Knight, N-I-T-E, over at the Top Rank Marketing blog. The reason I like this post is that, okay, we need to deal with it. Mobile content is here to stay. And the thing I say about mobile is in 5 years, we won't be talking about mobile communications any more than we talk about color TVs anymore, because it's just part of the experience. So what I like about this post from Joshua is he talks about we need to be doing more than optimizing how our content looks on these little screens. We need to better understand the frame of mind that people are in when they engage with mobile content, and we need to look at how we can better serve them where and when they are in terms of their mindset when they engage in that content. Really, really good information. And I will, of course, provide the link in the blog post for this episode. That post again at 3 Crucial Truths for Engaging Your Audience on Mobile by Joshua Knight on the Top Rank Marketing blog. That's it for this week's news feed. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at @RachParker so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment. Frank Danna returns to the podcast to chat about Snapchat, Instagram, and how social media marketers are ruining social media. Frank Danna is the content director at Softway and co-founder of Ghost Codes. He's a social influencer as well as a social strategist, balancing a vital understanding of social platforms and the know-how to properly execute effective campaigns. Frank's award-winning videos have been viewed more than 65 million times across social platforms. Frank has created and directed ads for over 100 of the world's top brands, including ESPN, BMW, HBO, Target, Samsung, Amazon, Uber, and many others. Frank is also one of our most popular guests. When we chatted with him for the first time back in December 2015, that was one of our most popular episodes, and I still get tweets and comments about how much our audience really appreciated Frank's insights. So we are thrilled to have him back. And by the way, when Frank and I connected on Skype to do this interview, I noticed that his Skype photo it's the same photo that you see if you are listening to this on iTunes or looking at the blog post, but it now has a mustache plastered on it. And I asked him about it. He said, well, some people thought that my photo was just way too serious, and it looked a little intimidating, so I had to lighten things up a bit. So if you picture the photo that you currently see with a goofy little mustache, that's currently how Frank is represented on Skype. Anyway, just a little fun fact there. So without further ado, here is my interview with Frank Danna. Hey, Frank, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be back.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you back. Well, I just gave everyone your official bio, but would you mind giving us a little more personal introduction to who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Frank Danna, and I am the content director at Softway. But for the past few years, I've really been focused on creating content for brands. Mm-hmm. So I work with quite a few brands across all different platforms, all sorts of forms of communication, from video to audio, Snapchat, Instagram, all of these different places. And really, my goal is to tell a great story for a brand and to find what really needs to be shared and communicated, and then what an audience will engage with. And whether I'm here working on on content for brands that our agency Softway is working on, or if I'm writing a blog post or working through creating a piece for a brand at large, the core focus is how on earth do we tell the best possible story that resonates with people and connects with people in a really meaningful way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Frank, the last time you and I visited, which I looked it up, we last talked in December 2015. So we are right about a year, right about a year ahead. So it's a good.
Feels like 50 years ago.
No kidding, no kidding. Not that our industry moves fast or anything, right?
No, not at all.
No, just sitting watching.
Every month it's about 2 decades.
Right, exactly. So, Frank, the last time we chatted, you shared a wonderful story that sticks with me and involves your entire living room being littered with the heads of Barbie dolls. And I just love that story. So would you mind sharing it again?
That makes me sound like a psycho. First, I just want you to understand that you're like, who this weird like Ouija type of. So
right.
I started producing. Well, it goes back to the day that Vine launched, RIP Vine, but we'll talk about that later in a second.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the day that Vine launched. Started creating content on that platform. Again, it was very focused at just like making stuff. I got inspired by the limitations of the platform, by the creativity that comes as a result of only being able to produce in 6.5 seconds. Started making stuff the first few months of that year, 2013. And then started getting contacted by brands. And brands were like, hey, can you help us make this thing for this thing? So it was Chevrolet, Samsung, Bank of America, and all of these brands were contacting me. But Jennifer Lopez's digital street team contacted me and said, hey, we want you to make some stop motion videos for Instagram. And, this is about 4 or 5 months after Instagram launches. And I'm sitting there going, what? Joking? And they're like, yeah, I mean, would you mind like helping us launch, J-Lo's Barbie doll collection, the 2 Barbies that she was coming out with. We need some help. You seem like the right fit for this job. And I was like, let's do this. And so, they ship everything to my house. And by everything, I mean about 100 Barbie bodies and 150 Barbie head, like just a massive number of Barbie doll heads. And the reason why was because I was actually the first creator outside of Barbie Studios to produce content without having a style guide on set with me, helping make sure that the hair is consistent and everything is kind of kept perfectly aligned all the way through a shoot. So if you've ever played with Barbies, which I apparently have a lot, you'll know that as you begin to play with Barbies, the hair kind of tufts up and begins to kind of frizz. And you have to maintain the quality of the hair. And so I'm creating this content, nights and weekends while I'm working my day job. And one night, it's about 2 or 3 in the morning, I had Barbie doll heads, J-Lo Barbie doll heads all over the place. I mean, it looked like I was in the weird part of the horror movie where you're like the dollhouse, the killer's in the dollhouse. That was me in the dollhouse. So I've got Barbie doll heads everywhere because I've got to be pulling Barbie doll heads off of one. I throw it across the room into a box and then pop another one on, make sure everything is consistent on it, and then I continue to film. And it was just an insane story of sort of like it's really what happened was everything I was doing was super scrappy. And it was very much like you see this polished, or I mean, looking at it now, I'm like, that was not polished. But you see the polished content at the end. If you pull the camera back just a few inches, even just a few feet, you see a random dude's living room with Barbie stuff everywhere. My wife wakes up. She's freaking out. I'm freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. But ultimately, it was a great experience to kind of see ultimately like what it takes within the space to just be willing to produce and create content, regardless of who you're making it for.
Or how many heads you have to snap off.
About 80 to 100 or so.
Wow.
I wasn't counting, but somewhere around.
That's great. That's great. Love that story. So Frank, speaking about Vine, I know that last year Twitter announced that Vine was going to be going away, and then they said, well, it was just going away as a social network. It was going to be back as a tool with that whole 6-second looping video. So what's going on with Vine, and what do you think about that?
Well, as everyone here knows, Vine was given sort of like an end date, and they kind of went with it in terms of in January. They canceled Vine as the social media platform and transitioned the Vine app that you have on your phone to just the Vine camera. And so that is the biggest change that happened, in that you can no longer sort of engage on the social platform. Right. You can't re-Vine anymore. You can't comment on videos anymore. You can produce a video within the framework of the Vine camera. So if you were used to creating the 6-second videos or uploading to the 6-second video platform, you still can do it, and then it just translates directly to Twitter. So Twitter has engaged the looping kind of video thing, and so you can still create content through the Vine camera. It goes directly to Twitter, and that's really it. And I could honestly, we could harp all day about things that Vine should have done versus shouldn't have done, issues and mistakes that were made. Ultimately, what ended up happening was the community. There was a lot of things that happened with the community or didn't happen with the community. I think some of it came down to communication. Connecting with the community at large, not the top 20 or 30 creators that were making hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a year through the platform, but really understanding the desires of the rest of the community. I mean, there were these underground projects that were created where for a certain dollar amount you could get 15 different accounts to revine your content. At one point in time it was very much like an underground currency to be able to buy and sell accounts on Vine and buy and sell actual views on Vine. And all of this subculture could have been avoided. And it started to inflate the opens, it inflated the loops, it inflated the engagement, and brands stepped away from it because they were seeing other platforms engage. And ultimately it didn't bring that cohesive. Essentially, it just didn't bring what it needed to bring to the stable of other options. There was about a year or so where they didn't have an update, or if the updates came out, it was mostly just bug fixes, and so there wasn't a lot of innovation within the quality of the content production or the shareability of the content.
Interesting. So do you think Vine Camera is there? I mean, there's so many more tools on the market now. Do you think Vine Camera is even relevant, valuable?
No, it's really not. I mean, to be completely honest, if the very few people that are still using the Vine camera to produce content, I mean, it's great that it uploads directly to Twitter, but now all video loops directly on Twitter, whether it comes from Vine camera or any other source. And so ultimately, it's sort of like I guess an homage to the old days of like, hey, it's one last piece. There's a remnant, but that's it. There's no other element to it. Luckily, all of the content that's already been produced is still on Vine's website, so you can go there, watch and engage with all of the content. And what's really disheartening is Vine kind of built influencer marketing, and it sort of established it. Now there were influencers on YouTube and other platforms, but Vine was a trendsetter in memes. Vine was a trendsetter in lots of things because it was so close to GIFs, just audio. And it's sad to see how much from our internet culture was derived from Vine, and now that absence is being felt.
Right, exactly. Well, Frankie, if memory serves, you were the first guest on this podcast to broach the S word, and by S I mean Snapchat. So we talked about it way back in December 2015, which, as you said, is like a million years ago. So get us caught up. What's up with Snapchat these days? It seems to be much more mainstream than it was just a year ago. Are more brands getting on board, and how are they engaging?
Well, that's a great question. A lot has happened since then. There are a few different ways of looking at Snapchat. Snapchat itself as a brand looks at itself as a camera company, not as a social media platform. So when you open up the app on Snapchat, what do you see first? You see a camera, right? Like what's your not necessarily a camera, but you open the camera and see what's around you.
Right.
When you open up Facebook first, what do you see? Your feed.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so Snapchat is not designed to be a news feed platform. Snapchat is designed to be a platform to capture content directly and share it with a few select friends. So in that way, it's very much like a waffle. It's very compartmentalized. When you pour the syrup in a waffle, each little compartment has its own amount of syrup in it, whereas every other social network is sort of spaghetti, where all of it is tethered and connected. There's a connection to discovery, so you can find new people to follow. On Snapchat, that's very difficult. There's a way for you to engage with content of all different shapes and sizes. Snapchat, it's videos or photos. And so the platform is sort of boxed in, but that really hasn't stopped them from continuing to build content. It is much more mainstream in regards to how people are engaging with it, what they're doing on it. There's about 301 million monthly active users on Snapchat at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Daily, though, Snapchat has about 150 million daily active users.
Okay.
So there are just a large amount of people using this platform.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the differences between Snapchat and Instagram stories, there's an interesting kind of parallel there. People are posting pretty often, at least once a week. Now, the users, not brands, but users are posting at least once a week, about 50% of them.
Mm-hmm.
About 64% or so of users are viewing stories once a week. So Snapchat is a platform for viewership than it is creation still, but there are a lot of people engaging. And then another interesting thing to note is, about 60% of Snapchat users are between the ages of 13 to 24. So there's a large Gen Z audience on the platform, which means if brands want to engage, it's a great place to do it. But here's the shocking truth. About 67% of brands are only posting monthly or quarterly.
Wow.
So I'm talking about the 450-ish major brands that jumped on in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of them are posting on a consistent basis. 30% of brand accounts are dormant on Snapchat.
Wow.
And they're really only being used for large-scale social marketing initiatives. So essentially, if you have a big thing to talk about, that's when you should be using your account. If not, brands are sort of hopping off of the bandwagon of creating content on their Snapchat account, and now they're engaging more on geo filters and the advertising platform with influencers.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So would you say that Snapchat is still, because what I'll see sometimes, Frank, is I'll see that a brand has a Snapchat channel through which they share content, but also some of their subject matter experts within the organization are also kind of doing their own thing on Snapchat. So is it like a dual layer thing going on that we're seeing here?
I think so. But we'll start seeing the trajectory of where things are going with Snapchat is that fewer and fewer brands are going to be producing content on their branded channel on Snapchat. They're going to be sharing their perspective, maybe a little bit of behind the scenes content, but mostly it's going to be coming from those individuals that align themselves with that particular brand.
And would you say, as far as the brands that are leveraging Snapchat right now, is it pretty much the industries you'd expect, the ones that serve the younger demographics?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of consumer B2C brands that are focusing on that space specifically. We worked with quite a few brands on Snapchat. We've done a lot of work with HP producing weekly episodic content every single week to produce on Snapchat directly, called What the Tech Wednesdays. And when we were discussing with Snapchat some of the reasons for some of the issues that we ran into in regards to the fact that because it's a waffle, it's hard to experience growth without going outside of your followership. Their suggestion was essentially there's no real reason to be posting on that platform on a consistent basis for brands. And because there are so many other ways of engaging your audience, and there's so many other ways of gauging against actual metrics within their advertising platform. So very recently, we're talking about last week, they opened it up to third-party APIs. So now you can go to a place like VidMob and spend about $100 a day and get your advertising on Snapchat connected directly to individuals that are engaging at the audience type, the demographic type that you're looking for. So Snapchat is suggesting to brands step away from creating always-on content on their channels and focus more on specific targeting to individuals through their advertising platform.
Oh, interesting. And Frank, you mentioned that was an insight from Snapchat. I understand that you and the software team you actually converse with Snapchat headquarters on a regular basis.
So it's really through our partnerships as well. So our partner at HP is one that keeps us connected to the relationship with Snapchat. And as we're discussing with them, it is very clear that Snapchat is focused solely on the advertising side, which makes sense for them because they're about to go IPO. They want cash money in the bank. But at the same time, they're really heavily engaged on helping brands make the best decisions when it comes to content creation.
Yep, absolutely. And I apologize for the insane pug in the background. A car drove by and she's going
No
through
worries.
lipstick. But that's interesting. That's interesting. So, and it's interesting. I was talking to a colleague of mine who works at a bank, and they were saying how
They're on Snapchat mainly for kind of like the PR side with the younger crowd. Like they sponsor a lot of like 4-H and Future Farmers of America events where they do have those 13 to 18-year-olds engaging. So they're finding some good results with like the geo filters of Snapchat in that niche part of their marketing that does get in front of a younger audience.
And it all comes down to there is no like on social platforms. There's no real free lunch. Like
Right.
you've got to kind of pay to play. And GeoFilters is an amazing example. It's like $5 per 20,000 square feet.
Mm.
And so if you're dropping a geofilter, and geofilters are essentially going to be targeted like stickers that can show up on someone's Snapchat. So if you're in the middle of a park and you take a snap and then you start swiping to the left or right, you're going to see the clock. You're going to see maybe your specific location in your city. And then if you keep swiping over, you'll see a geofilter for like Sal's Auto Repair on West Tower, or you'll see, a geofilter for, a donut place. Those are paid for by brands to target you in that particular area. And the price point for those is incredibly inexpensive.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So Frank, after I did after our conversation last time, I did take your advice and made it a point to get into Snapchat and to start posting and learning more about the platform. And then, sure enough, late last year, a wrench got thrown in the works when Instagram jumped into the what we're now calling the ephemeral content area, and now it's almost like there's an arms race between Instagram stories and Snapchat, like they're one-upping each other on features every week. So how do you see this contest playing out?
Instagram's going to win.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because at this point, remember I mentioned earlier that Snapchat has 150 million daily active users on this portion of their platform. Well, so does Instagram. Instagram is now at the same place, and they're about to surpass Snapchat. Instagram Stories, rather, not just Instagram, because Instagram is way further along.
Sure.
Instagram Stories is at the same number of daily active users that Snapchat is only a few months after it's launched.
Wow.
Instagram Stories has the one missing feature that Snapchat doesn't have, which is that discovery component. Like you've already got individuals with accounts that have all of the content they've posted previously. For brands specifically, we've noticed brands are posting far more frequently, up to 9 times a week on Instagram Stories versus Snapchat, where they're posting maybe once or twice a month. So we're seeing the conversion. We're seeing the kind of the step away from Snapchat into Instagram Stories. Any verified account on Instagram Stories allows you to add URLs or links. So you can, if you're producing content, let's say trying to sell, dog bones, for instance, and you say, 30% coupon on our website. If you did that on Snapchat, you'd have to say, screenshot this snap to remember the coupon code, which is like, we love puppies, let's just say, for instance. And the coupon code is we love puppies. So you have to screenshot and then screenshot the URL of where to go. So then the user has to go out of Snapchat, type in the URL, then type in on Instagram Stories, you just swipe up from the story, goes directly to that URL where you're able to select the item and then give the discount code. So it provides less friction for the users to get where you want to go. So for brands, it's an immediate return on investment because they can know how many people are actually going to their places. And Instagram Stories has already built in features that many Snapchat users have been asking for a long time, including like being able to tag other people so people get credit between accounts. There are lots of things that Instagram Stories is doing correctly, but there is one thing that I will say. There's a massive divide between the individuals that are using Snapchat, actually purists using Snapchat, and individuals on Instagram. So there are two different audiences. The audiences are not the same. So for the 13 to 24, the younger demo that's going to focus on Snapchat, they're not going to go to Instagram Stories. Like they're not going to say, I'm going to step away from Snapchat to go to Instagram Stories. If the brands that they like to follow on Instagram are using Instagram Stories, they're going to watch it. But they're not going to change their actual habits. That's something interesting to note. Like we've got to remember that there are different audiences on different platforms, but a majority of these brands are sort of seeing the writing on the wall in terms of the way that content plays on Snapchat and are stepping over to Instagram and seeing much better results.
Yeah. Speaking of results, Frank, I know that in Instagram there's a way to you can see how many views you've gotten. But for people who are used to, going into Twitter, seeing how many retweets they got, or Facebook to see how many likes they've got, there seems to be a really big gaps in terms of the analytics that are available. So do you see that evolving anytime soon?
Definitely. I believe that, especially since, Instagram is now rolling pre and post roll ads in between Instagram stories.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to take it to the next level in regards to how you're going to be able to analyze that data.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's funny that you said without hesitation that Instagram's going to win this fight. I was listening to a podcast by Joe Polizzi of Content Marketing Institute, and he came right out and say Instagram might as well change its name to MySpace right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. He said it's the same thing. They came up with a great idea, and somebody else leveraged it and did it better, and that's going
Are
to
you
be
saying
it.
Instagram or Snapchat?
I mean Snapchat. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Snapchat.
okay.
Oh my God. Oh wow. Yeah. Big boo.
I was like,
Okay.
I need you to unpack why Instagram is like Snapchat
Yeah.
or my. I'm getting confused. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And did you notice that I sort of paused because I was like, I don't agree.
Right.
But I'm not going to be rude. This is your podcast.
All right, take two. Yes,
All
he
right,
said Snapchat might as well change its name to MySpace.
Wow. Okay. Makes more sense.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there have been so many changes in the way Snapchat has approached what they're doing, and Snapchat's going to say no, there haven't been, but dealing with having friends within Snapchat and kind of seeing what's going on, for quite a while they were sort of grasping, where on earth do we go with this thing? How are we going to build it? They were coming up with concepts and scrapping concepts every few weeks to move in the right direction, and you notice that with the way that Instagram has been able to, with a level head, build on the platform. Now, here's one thing that Snapchat still doesn't have: live video streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a platform that is very close to live, but we don't have live on Snapchat yet. Why is that? I mean, Snapchat would be, in my opinion, would have been the first place to come out with live video because it was the closest to live video content, in that you're posting every few moments, every few minutes. And yet we still don't see the live video component built into the Snapchat platform. Instagram dropped it in after Facebook did, and Twitter's had Periscope. So we're seeing a disconnect. Now, Snapchat's MO has always been, we literally don't care about what anyone else does. But at this point in time, I feel like it's kind of biting them in the butt.
Right. Exactly. Interesting. Well, Frank, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a post that you recently published called Social Media Marketers, and that is in quotes, social media marketers are ruining social media. So tell us a little bit about this post. Who are these people? How are they ruining social media? And finally, Batman, how can they be stopped? And that's where you whip off your glasses dramatically and share some insights.
That's it. So, I wrote this. As really just, I wanted to kind of clear the air and things that I've seen in the past. And this post was not meant to be hateful in any way. And I really wanted it to focus on learning and providing valuable insights for how some people that essentially claim to be social media marketers that aren't social media marketers and aren't the real, which is why it's in quotes. They need to be called out, and we need to have an open dialogue about how we can move in the right space. But essentially, these individuals are, they're not necessarily creating their own original content. The ideas that they come up with, or the best practices, or the best time to post, any of these ideas are sort of regurgitated from dozens of websites that have already written this a dozen times over. And so a lot of these individuals are sort of trying to make a name for themselves. Not sort of trying; they are trying to make a name for themselves by using other content and trying to rehash it in ways that make them look better. They're trying to build an audience, and they're doing it through dishonest tactics. They're not listening to the individuals on these platforms. On Twitter's sort of the worst space for this, where the same 50 people will be following the same 50 blogs, and they'll all be trying to add their own perspective, but in reality, they're not really creating much. And so you get this space that's full of individuals that are sort of posers. They're not really building any real good insight or content or approach into social marketing. And so you've got this sort of cycle, this terrible cycle of regurgitating content, trying to make videos to just get video views, not really providing insights. And then these individuals are being hired as experts, quote unquote, but without any real experience in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, those are the individuals that we need to be focusing on. And
Right.
and my approach within the blog itself, within the article that I wrote, is very simple. You've already got the experience as a marketer.
Mm-hmm.
Now you need the experience as a creator. And here's why. You need to be creating against what you know. And if you can start making content and not even acting like you're going to be able to monetize off that, but if you just start making stuff, then the evidence that you find from the stuff you make can't be discredited because it's your findings on your own research. And so if you decide that I don't just want to blog about other people making grilled cheese videos on Facebook, I actually want to start making grilled cheese videos and see the results from that. And then how can you use those results to impact other businesses, brands, or organizations that are looking to get into that space? So the main premise off of the article that I wrote was find something that you can actually build for yourself. Do that.
Yeah.
Research against that, and then you've got something to stand on. Then you've got something tangible. So instead of just saying, I'm a social media marketer or strategist, you can say, I'm doing this, and this is why I have insights into the space. It's essentially creating wisdom for yourself, not just knowledge, but knowledge plus experience.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, Frank, it's when I go out to research things that I report on, it's amazing how many blog posts and articles that are out there that will just put these claims out there, and it can't be it's traced back to another post and another post to another post. Well, where's the research?
Exactly. And so, like, for instance, we've been working with HP for 7 months producing always on content. And every single week we're producing reports and looking at open rates on Snapchat and all these other findings. And then when we go to discuss this information, all of it is available to us. And then we can look at our own internal findings, and then we can look and see if our internal findings connect in any way or ladder up to external findings. And then that way we can create something cohesive.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing that, then you're not really able to engage and provide any real tangible things that will help people move forward.
Exactly. And I shared with you before we started recording that I was at a speaking engagement last week, and someone asked me, when's the best time to post on Twitter? And people get sick of hearing me say, well, it depends, but they're so trained to say, okay, there is one answer out there and somebody's got it and I'm going to find it.
What's great about that is every single person says something different.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. So, like, my thought is, like, if you have an actual time frame, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
Because essentially what you're saying is, I know for a fact that your particular industry in your particular region is going to get the best performance out of this particular time. You do not know the answer to that question. And as we look at some of the things that our agency provides, one thing is very small client base, but we're actually running social media accounts for certain clients. And when we look at the research from our on a monthly or weekly basis, the best time to post is when you post. So if you're posting every day at 9 a.m., you're going to get the highest level of engagement around 9 a.m. for about an hour until the half-life finishes. About 80 to 90% of your engagement happens within that hour. And then, it's on to the next. So it's essentially when you decide to post is the best time for you to post. And that's the answer. And so, or not 2 a.m., I guess, unless it's the crowd coming, kind of stumbling out of the bar, but are they looking for 2 a.m.? So it really depends on your audience, and it depends on you just coming up with the time that you need to post and then working against it. Then people start to expect it, and then it becomes the right time for you.
Yep, exactly. There you go. So Frank, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that there is no more free lunch in social media, and indeed the last especially in the last 6 months or so, we've seen a lot of talk about reach apocalypse. So brands are just seeing absolutely abysmal reach on their regular, plain, unpromoted organic posts on social media, and I'm even hearing that some companies are just abandoning organic social altogether and just using paid posts to promote their other venues. So what are your thoughts about that? Is that what you're seeing, and where is all this going to go?
I'm absolutely seeing that, and I think that it's actually it ultimately will be better for the consumer. And the reason why is because I feel like, and this isn't true for every brand, but brands are going to start thinking about the quality of the content they're creating more because they have to pay to play. And because it's so important that the content they produce it's actually costing them money to post it. It's not just the time they're using to post it. It's the actual production of the content that they're willing to produce. A lot goes into that. And so I feel like it's going to be better for the end user because they're going to see better quality content. And at the same time, I feel like that's a good step in the right direction. Brands that want to reach the right audiences, they have more tools at their disposal to reach the right people. It's not just blasting to every single person. There's a focus. Things have gotten more refined. It's not just about SEO keywords anymore. It's about reaching the right audience at the right time. I think that finesse will ultimately bring, from a brand's perspective, will ultimately bring better results because the cost for the pay to play isn't exorbitant. It's not a huge amount of money. And they're going to be able to reach the right audiences. So it doesn't cost you much money. You're able to connect with the right audiences at the right times, and you're producing better quality content. And if your content works with the right audience type, then you're more likely to see results.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight, Frank. And I think it's also going to help weed out the Me Too's, the people who jumped on social media saying, oh, this is a great way to get audiences, and they're not willing to take that extra step to pay. So it's making the field smaller.
Exactly, and I think that's very good. It's very, very good for brands that need to begin investing in the opportunity to perform better, because there are going to be a lot of people that say no, you got to focus on organic, but it's going to continue to wind down to nearly zero.
Sure.
And you've got to be willing to do that. And so the brands that aren't willing to do that, or the individuals that are suggesting to brands not to move in that space, even for $5 or $10 to reach X number of audience. I mean, video on Facebook is incredibly powerful, and the way to reach the right audience isn't posting organically anymore. And so, it does make the playing field a little bit smaller, and that's a great thing for brands that are trying to get their message out and connect with more people.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Frank, we are just a couple of months into 2017, and the year is still young. So, any thoughts on developments that are going to rock our world this year, and what we'll be talking about this time in 2018?
Well, I think that we're going to continue to see social platforms sort of copying each other, and the copycat approach is going to start causing major issues from a user perspective, because if every platform has the same type of content and you can produce the same types of things, my big question is, what does that mean for social? Back in the day, I mean, I don't know, a few months ago, before Instagram was identical to Snapchat for this component, and then live video wasn't on almost everything, you would have very specific types of places to engage with certain types of things.
Right.
Now everything has been open, so I really want to understand how and why we're moving in this direction of every platform does everything.
Right.
I don't know if that's good for the user. I don't know if that's beneficial to the individuals that are using these different platforms, and also what does that mean for usage of those platforms? I think the idea of the sameness that's kind of swirling above our heads is going to. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I know that there's going to be an issue this year. I really think live streaming is going to be massive this year, and I think live is just going to be incredibly huge. 78% of online audiences are already watching live video through Facebook Live, so it's a massive number. Nearly 8 out of 10 people are already engaging with Facebook Live content. It has become completely normal, but what isn't normal is the quality of that content. And so what we're going to see in this year is brands start embracing creating really good content on live. So I'm talking about SNL skit level quality, where you're able to do live shows, live game shows, live content. It's going to be really exciting. I think another thing that I'm starting to see from a strategic perspective is podcasting. Podcasting is a very old phrase, from the early 2000s, but 21% of Americans listen to at least one podcast per month in 2016. And so, and that number has grown every year over year since 2009. So you've got Tinder has their own podcast. GE is sponsoring incredible podcasts that are like movie quality storytelling. eBay has a podcast. These brands are engaging with this and telling really unique stories. They're not trying to sell their brand as much as they're trying to connect with audiences on things that are similar to them. And so I think podcasting is going to be really big and continue to get larger for brands that are engaging. I think live video is going to be really huge. And then again, like the negative aspect of it is, where on earth are these platforms going? Why is it an arms race to be the same? And what will that mean ultimately for the audiences on these platforms?
Yeah, well, as the Chinese curse goes, may you live in interesting times, and we definitely do.
We do. And I mean, then you look at Snapchat, and where is Snapchat going? You know, they recently launched their Spectacles, this amazing sort of hype machine thing that got people talking about Snapchat, which was the whole point, just to communicate it, just to be on the news. You know, obviously it's very smart of them to start that conversation up right before they're IPOing. And so that's a big deal. But where is Snapchat going with where on earth is Snapchat going with their camera company approach? What are they going to be doing with that? You know, one of my friends, Carlos Gill, he mentioned on a blog that just came out that he's thinking that, you know, Snapchat may acquire GoPro. And that seems like a very interesting approach. And so, you know, Carlos is sitting there going, what if Snapchat acquires an actual camera company, and then they're able to engage and incorporate? So shout out to Carlos for kind of throwing that out there. It's a pretty incredible idea. But ultimately, you know, where is Snapchat going to be going with their platform? We've seen a decline in brand usage, but we've seen an uptick in brand advertising. So Snapchat's going to be making the revenue from the brands. But where is it going to go from the user and audience perspective? And that's really the question for the year.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Frank, how about we set a date for February 2018 and catch up and see where things have gone.
That sounds amazing. And you know, obviously, I'd like to continue to have these types of conversations as, you know, big things are changing and moving in the space. You know, there's a lot of really interesting things happening. You know, my goal is really to look at things from a holistic perspective, really understand. Ultimately, I care deeply about the consumer and what they're going to engage with, and then obviously from the brand side of it, how can brands do what they need to do to make sure that their brand is growing, but that it's a healthy growth. It's a healthy growth with the actual individuals that they're wanting to ultimately have buy from them.
Absolutely. Well, Frank, thank you again for joining us today. And if our listeners would like to follow you and keep up with some more of your insights, how would they find you?
I'm blogging a lot on Medium, so medium.com/@Erskine, so that's ERSKINE, that's my middle name. Twitter, it's the same handle, @Erskine on Twitter, where I'm showcasing a lot of my thoughts as well as some content that we're producing. And then Instagram, it's a little bit more personal, but you can kind of see some of the stuff that I go through on a daily or weekly basis with my family, and that's @Frank E. Danna, DANNA on Instagram. And that's basically the three places that I'm playing the most right now.
Okay, great. Well, Frank, we look forward to keeping up with your insights and definitely having you back to chat again soon.
Amazing, Rachel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Many thanks again to Frank Danna for joining us to share his insights on Snapchat, Instagram, how social medias are ruining social media, and even his insights on Reachpocalypse. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Erskine, ERSKINE, and that blog post that he spoke of about how social media marketers are ruining social media, you can find that link in the blog post for this episode at resonancecontent.com/podcast, and it'll be right there at the top of the page. If you have any questions or want to add to the conversation, you feel free to of course, connect with Frank on Twitter @Erskine, or you can hit me up on Twitter at @RageParker. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. Okay, folks, you heard the man. Ephemeral content is here to stay. Snapchat got the ball rolling, and apparently Instagram Stories is poised to emerge as the place to be for sharing that ephemeral, that disappearing content. So, Yeah, it's here to stay, and we talked a little bit about the audiences for these platforms. So I recommend if you are tabula rasa and you haven't done anything with either platform, I would recommend checking out Instagram stories. And just start kicking the tires, play around with it. That's the best way to get to know any social platform. So start with your personal Instagram account and get used to the platform, how it works, how you can post your own content, share with other people's content, get used to the stickers and the text tools that they have there, and more importantly, see how other brands are using it. Don't take my word or Frank's word for how brands are using Instagram stories. Get in there and see what people are doing. See what people in your space are doing. See what other B2B or B2C marketers are doing on Instagram stories. And then through your own experience, you can make an informed decision as to whether it is worth pursuing for your brand. And if so, you can make intelligent decisions about making a plan for moving forward. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. Also, my new book, The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win, is now available in book and Kindle format on Amazon. To learn more about the book and to download a free chapter, visit contentmarketingcoachbook.com. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Henry Ford. He once said, quote, "Quality means doing it right when no one is looking," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.